What's up? What's up? Okay, so I wanted to come on here and kind of like update you guys and just say, hey, I've been having a great day. I worked out this morning. I cooked breakfast for our guests here. Actually wanted to record a following video for my video that I just posted, my 4-day trip. Technically it was a 6-day trip. It was just broken into 2, so it was like a 3-day and a 3-day, but I was only able to record up to 4 days, so that's why I only put 4 days. Rarely ever happens. Actually, it never happens to me. It's my first time ever since being on probation. But I also wanted to come up here and, you know, break down the terminology that I was using yesterday, or not yesterday, for the videos I was posting, and just to get you guys some like clarification in like what deadhead is, what reserve is, what standby is, and what wrap is. So I wanted to break down each one of those videos, or each one of those terms, as far as what they all meant. So the first one is reserve. So reserve means you're on reserve status. So your status is pretty much like a standby, like an on-call thing, until you get a line. So you can't determine whether after your probation period you're gonna get a line. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. It usually just, depends on the factor. It depends on, it can depend on your seniority. It can depend on if there happens to be a line that fits your schedule. So it really pretty much, when you're on reserve, it's like, okay, so I'm working for your X amount of days, but I'm on reserve. So crew scheduling, or your schedule, will tell you, hey, this trip got dropped. You can flight attendant such and such, you're gonna pick it up, we're gonna send you there. So it's like pretty much be on standby for 6 days. Not technically 6 days, but you're on standby for a good amount of time. Now when you break it up, when you break up reserve and you break everything down, you have wrap and you have standby at the airport. So there's 2 different kinds. So wrap is reserve availability period, and there's two times for it, and there's 2 different lists. There's one for 4 a.m. which is good up until 7 p.m. and then there is 10 a.m. and they're good for at least almost midnight. So flight attendants across the board, maybe I might be just speaking for my company, but maybe through the entire industry, we're all good to fly up to at least 14 to 16 hours. And so they're not going to technically use you all the way up to 16 hours, but they can use you for a good 12 hours, because they have used me. I have flown for a good 12 hours, but then you factor in, your delays, your takeoff, your descending, all that, all can lead up to a 12-hour day. So it is a pretty long day. So wrap people, or wrap standbys, are the first people to get called out in case other flight attendants drop their trips. So for instance, actually let me kind of explain that. So crew scheduling has to give you 2 hours of call time. So if a flight leaves at 2 o'clock and it's like 11:30, they can call me at 11:30 and say, hey, flight attendant, blah blah blah, we have a trip, an overnight, or we have a 4-day trip for you starting at 2:30. That's enough time to be like, okay, I need to get to the airport. That means my sign-in time is actually at 1:30, but my flight departs at 2:30. So that's where everything starts to kind of like break down for you. So you get called in for a flight, but you always have to remember that you have to check in for a flight an hour before you actually leave for the flight. So you can't show up at the airport while your flight's leaving. That that makes no sense. And the list is, they break it into 2 lists, and they break it down to how many hours flight attendants have. If my hours are higher than other flight attendants, they're gonna call me pretty much last. So really it's like a gamble, you know, whether the weather's good or if they're really in desperate need of people, they will go down the list and they will call you accordingly, you know, and they've used it before. So standby at the airport. Standby at the airport means you pretty much just sit around for a good 8 hours and you'll be used or you won't be used. And at those times, that's when, you know, in case you need to pre-board a flight for another flight attendant because they're running late or their flight got delayed, or they're looking for another flight attendant to pretty much, you know, fill in for them. Standbys are pretty much like last minute, you know, assignments in case something does happen, they need somebody right away. The flight attendant will be called immediately to work that flight. So they have, for my company, we have 2 different types. Not really 2 different types, but when you break it down, it's, you know, on the hour standbys, go to this terminal, and then half hours go to a different terminal, and that's how they break the list down for you. Pretty easy, pretty simple, and you know, you just, you know, you're ready to go. You always have to have a carry-on luggage with you and your tote bag. So pretty much if you're ready to go fly, you'll have all your equipments with you. You're in uniform compliance, just ready to go. Now, deadhead. So deadhead means you are on company time, paid time, but you are sitting like a passenger on a flight back to base or to a base that you will be working. Now, most of I like that. I like deadheading. I like deadheading to a location or back from working a flight. I'm sure all my flight attendant buddies can definitely, you know, second on that, because deadhead is the best. You know, you're still getting paid, but you're getting paid to sit on a flight back to base, or, you know, to work a flight. What else? Deadhead. Legs. So I know most of you heard me say legs yesterday. I had 3 legs, 4 legs, 5 legs. Legs pretty much mean how many flights you're working. So you could have 1 leg that day, meaning, you know, you're gonna have a layover at a different city. So you'll fly from your main base to that location, city or state, or whichever they send you, and you have your layover there. Then you start your next leg the following day. 3 legs. So 3 legs would be your base that you start from. So Dallas to like Missouri, and then Missouri back to Dallas, and then Dallas back to, or Dallas to another state. So that means legs. So legs equal, or meaning legs are pretty much just the amount of like flights I work throughout the day. So it's not really like a, you know, I don't know, to be honest, I don't know why we call it legs. They just use that term, so it's just easier for us. Like, oh, this is, you know, we had like 6 legs today. Like, oh damn, like you worked 6 flights. And it gets difficult sometimes. I'll lift you guys up because you're on my dashboard. But it's a long day. Sometimes 6 legs can equal a 12-hour day. But okay. Yeah, it's like, it's Chuck E. Cheese for adults. So scratch the adult play. I don't know, I keep saying that. It's okay. All right, guys. So no adult play. Until no adult play. We're headed to Andretti right now. It's a Chuck E. Cheese for adults, and I will catch you guys later tonight. Have a wonderful day.